Hello and welcome to another edition of the Moving Iron Podcast. This podcast is proudly provided by Axon, helping dealers move more iron for almost 100 years. Find out more at agmarkets.com. Axon was started almost 100 years ago out of a passion for keeping agriculture moving. It's that same passion that drives them today. With a vision for a better experience for both farmer and dealer, they set out to create a better way to move more iron. When you partner with Axon, you get immediate access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. Axon carries all major brands and sizes of tires, wheels, and tracks. From custom colors and sizes to fully customized wheels, you can have the solution for virtually any problem today's farmer is trying to solve. To find more or become an Axon dealer, please visit agmarkets.com.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast number 207. This is a County Road 66 production. This podcast is proudly provided by Axon, helping dealers move more iron for almost 100 years. Find out more at agmarkets.com. And TractorZoom, delivering insights. If you're looking for a great place to find what's going on in the auction market and track trends, Aaron, if you were to pick someplace, where would you go look for that at?
Well, I would go to TractorZoom.
TractorZoom, no kidding. That's where I'd go too. And TractorZoom is a great place to find another little product called Iron Comps, which gives you all the searchable criteria that you need to really narrow down what it is your search is for. So comparables, that's a good way to put it. So if you were wanting to do something like that and you go to Iron Comps and decide you want to sign up for that, use Moving Iron at checkout and you get yourself a sweet little discount.
Very nice.
Now on to the show. Now we really didn't go anywhere, folks. We're still here. This week, Aaron and I sat around and racked our brains about stuff, what we could talk about, and Pretty usual, yeah. And the one thing Aaron and I do spend a fair amount of time talking about, not because we're like keeping up on values or really any of that kind of thing, but just more of connoisseurs, I think, is the best way to put that.
Actually something we both use all the time.
Yep. And it's the good old-fashioned side-by-side. And so I think that's what we're going to talk about today as we kind of sit back and look at this. So in the farm equipment business, what I have found that there is actually a peak selling time for side-by-sides. And it is anywhere between mid-January to about mid-March. Calving season.
Of course.
So about any time during
or
irrigation
lambing season.
Lambing season. Or also irrigation season.
Easy with that cattle prejudice BS.
So from a sorry to offend all of my sheep listeners out there. I apologize.
Yes, all three of us are very upset.
They have so calving season or lambing season, whichever four-legged creature you're out helping give birth to. That's a good time for that. Also, in our neck of the woods, guys out checking irrigation pivots.
Yes,
and also that are out checking just flood irrigation pipes and those kind of things. That's another great place that we see a lot of these side-by-sides get sold into. Now, over the last...
So kind of for us, first half of the year.
Yeah, first half of the year.
Yeah.
January to May. Really that's kind of a peak time. And then the second half of the season actually is peak time to sell all the used ones that come in that way.
Correct.
Because usually by this time of the year, we don't have a lot of used side-by-sides laying around.
No, we don't. And as a frequent used connoisseur, a lot of numbers in the herd there at home.
Yeah.
As a frequent connoisseur of the side-by-side, it's funny you say that too, because as a frequent used connoisseur of the side-by-side, having, like 4 myself, which isn't ridiculous, I realize that. But all of those I have bought are May, June, July timeframe. So that makes perfect sense that's how that all flows together.
Yep. So the other thing that I find about these side-by-sides that we have now is the number of people that come in here with anywhere. I mean, I've got a friend of mine I go to church with that has a I think he has a Yamaha dealership, and I can't remember what else he carries. Not Polaris, Can-Am.
Yeah.
Can-Am. And we were talking about this the other day about, just the price of these things and how they've gotten. He goes, I'm having a hard time sitting down and talking with folks about a side-by-side that doesn't have, at a bare minimum, a cab, and it needs to really have a heater. And some guys have even scoffed at the idea of not having an air conditioner inside of it. So,
exactly.
To me, that's one of the craziest things about this whole side-by-side market and how much it's expanded. It went from being, I don't even know if I really even need a windshield,
right,
to I probably need a full enclosure and better have air conditioning because it's hot outside.
Right,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Well, and not only that, but God forbid.
In a short amount of time, too.
Yeah. God forbid you buy that $150 windshield. That was the thing. Oh my God, man, that's pricey. And that was on the $6,000 Gator.
Right, yeah.
Now we have the $25,000.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have everything on it for everybody.
Right.
Yeah. It just blows my mind. I have a 2017 Polaris with a cab. Mm-hmm. And I myself baby stepped into that world. I had nothing. I had a windshield and a roof. Mm-hmm. I had a soft cab, and then I got a full hard cab. And I'm the same way.
Yeah.
My God, if I got to do chores without the cabbed one, I am pissed.
Yeah.
And it takes me from start to finish 15 minutes,
of
which a third of that or less is spent inside there.
Yep.
But I get pissed because I want my cab.
Right.
It's
amazing, too, like when I first moved out here, we had one sitting on the lot, and I bought it, and it was
Bush Hog.
Bush Hog, that's right. It was a Bush Hog. And it's four-wheel drive, and it had a soft cab on it. And I remember having that set up, had a glass windshield, but it didn't have a windshield wiper, which I'm never quite correlated why that worked that way. But nonetheless, they had, on a cold day, in between the heat coming off of the exhaust and the smell of exhaust inside the cab, it was pretty warm inside there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And warmer than I thought it would be.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't really think it'd be that warm. So that cab does make a difference. Now, I can understand that after you had one that's the fully sealed cab, like these new ones are, that are like a vehicle cab.
Oh, yeah.
And you shut the door and you can't hear anything outside because it's quiet. You're driving down the road. And it's a cold day, and you got the heater on just a little bit. You got the radio playing, and it's like you're just like your little Sunday driver. And you throw air conditioning on top of that, and then you have to actually sit outside with the rest of the ham and eggers that don't have a windshield on there. You know what I mean? I can understand why that would be that step backwards would come there.
I hear you. Now, from personal experience. Now, we have a mutual friend who puts on 30,000 miles a year on a Gator. Yeah. He drives it every single damn day, every day after work. Yeah. Now, mine are covered in shit and they get beat up. Nobody cares. They're for work. We don't cruise down the road. One of them we do drive around, but mostly they're just like, this one's for building fence. This one is daily chores. This one over here is on its last leg, but it's not worth anything, so we'll finish her off someday. Not being a road warrior, I just personal preference, and I know the marketplace is all over it. The air conditioning, I will yell at my children if they turn that on. There's no need to ever have that. But you take these cabbed units, you do need that.
Yeah.
You can roll your windows down, you can open vents, do all that kind of stuff that you can on them. It is hot in there, dude.
Right. Yeah.
And I think as as everybody's gone to this HVAC, the wonderful fit and finish cab, air conditioning pretty much is mandatory on most of them because it is hot in that cab.
Yeah. Yeah, and even like those...
I make my kids sweat, but that's me.
Yeah, I always... I've always wanted to do something like that. So about once a year or so, my family gets together and we all take a trip to the mountains and we get the side-by-side thing. And we just
Right
go.
on.
I always, I get one and I take it down there, and I had one this year that was no cab, no roof, no anything. And you get those like sporadic mountain, like...
Absolute downpour for 30 seconds.
Or like the freak, like little sleet / snow thing going on,
That's fun.
So, that'd have been nice to have a cab in. I was thinking about that the whole time I was on the mountaintop where it was, 45, 50 degrees, 55 degrees, and then the next second it was 8. And I was like, man, it should be nice to have a cab with heat right now and not shivering to death. But I think that is the odd thing that I find about this marketplace and the way that these things work together is that whether it's, when you name the brand, doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
What these things cost now.
Oh my God.
But the thing about it is people line up to buy them though. It's not like there's like there's not aged inventory laying around out there of stuff that hasn't been sold yet.
Well, and you're exactly right. To dig into that for a second, I almost laughed because we sit here and talk about $400,000 used pieces of machinery, and we're both having a meltdown about a $25,000 gator, right? However, like you said, people lined up to buy them. Town, acreage, small farm, medium farm, huge farm, just crops, just livestock, they all buy the side-by-side.
Right.
Only one of them guys buys that $400,000 used piece of machinery.
Absolutely true. Very true. Yeah. No, that's
and that's the beauty of it is, as they've refined these things, the large property owner, the hunter fisher outdoorsman in town, they've had them for 10, 15 years. Those, that segment really blowing up. And now it's like double time because they all have their, 2007 Polaris Ranger 900 with 26 miles on it.
Right, yeah.
Because that's how far it is from the pickup to the deer stand and back.
Yeah.
But they trip over themselves to get the Polaris North Star or the John Deere R or the top of the line Yamaha. Right. So I mean, that's what's so funny to me is it's something that I even as a guy who lives and breathes selling 780 combines, I look at that thing as that trim, okay, 100% luxury item, right? You can get, now, obviously we make the argument all the time, yes, a 9860 will go pick corn, so will a 780. Very different rigs, okay?
Right.
But you take the full HVAC side-by-side versus the the open structure, if you will, side-by-side. This one isn't going to do anything more than this one will do.
Right.
It's just more comfortable.
More creature features.
Now, as I said, we have the one side-by-side that we drive around and do stuff with. I also went to the mountains twice this summer. I want open when I'm doing that.
Why?
When I'm driving around at home. Yeah. Plus, it's nice.
Right. Oh yeah.
My dad, he has my oldest one, a Ranger, drives it all summer long. Has a roof on it. He hates it, but I won't let him take it off. He wishes it was all the way open because it's summer. Why not? For those guys, they're. What I'm getting at is not every single damn one of them has to have a cab, but it's really going where it's I'd say we're probably, us personally, I'd say more than 2/3. We might be 3/4 cab, if not more.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I kind of go both ways on the cab thing. I like the idea where the cab has easily removable doors. That's the one thing
Absolutely.
that I love the most. Even because even on some of these ones now that have a really the formed cab and everything, you can still take the doors off, but it's not just like
it's a chore.
You're not just lifting them off the post and
right
putting them in the garage for the summer. You know what I mean? So you have that whole thing to think and do about. But the one thing that I would say is that from a depreciation structure, depreciation isn't necessarily that terrible bad for for the number of miles that you put on. Like some of these guys that we're looking at, where they've got 1,200-1,500 miles on them, and they're
well,
still,
we get 2-year-olds that have 10,000 plus miles.
Yeah, we got guys that I've got a guy down here that had I'm trying to remember what it was. I think he bought it at the beginning of the summer, irrigated with it all summer long, and he brought it back in and had like 12,500 miles on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he's just driving up and down country roads and just checking the irrigation pipe. And
that's a whole lot of life at 40.
No kidding, right? But so I think there's a lot of things there, but the draw for these is that there is typically in one of these markets you have in a market like whether it's tractors, cars, whatever it is, there's a one of the sides of the coin, either the used side or the new side, is a stronger marketplace.
Right.
And I can't say on the side-by-side market that that the new is stronger than the used and the used is stronger than the new. It might teeter back and forth depending on.
I'd say it teeters a lot, but it never finishes one direction.
It's like 51-49.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like really, really just kind of right there back and forth from time to time. So rarely do we ever have a Gator in inventory, a used Gator in inventory, or a used Polaris, or a used Can-Am, or whatever it is that we've got. Rarely do we have something like that in inventory. That's not a complete hunk of crap, right? That we don't sell pretty quick.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially that mid-summer to fall time period. So.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm always searching inventory about that time, going like, sure like to have one for the winter.
I'm always searching it every single damn day. And I will say this, to piggyback on your comment about depreciation, there is hardly any, if you truly look at hours used and miles driven on that full cab heat and AC, regardless of brand,
Right.
there is hardly any depreciation on that rig compared to the fully open.
Right.
Dramatic difference.
Yep.
As someone who's always looking for the used full cabin heat, they hold their value far better than anything else we sell out of this building.
That's true. Yeah, it is amazing what that looks like. But I would say this: so if you're in the market for looking for a used machine, I tell you what, there's not a better place to find it than at auction. There always seems like older ones.
Yeah.
Older, cheaper ones, you know what I mean? If you're looking to get into one, it's a great place to look.
Right. Like at auction, you don't see the old original mules.
Right.
And you don't see XUV 835Rs.
Right.
You see 10, 15-year-olds.
Right.
The problem is everybody sees them, everybody gets wound up, and like many things at an auction, used AMS, for instance, they bring about twice what they should.
Right.
But there's a lot there.
Yep. So it's always the other thing too. So there's another place I find that's a great place to go look for these things is like the Craigslist of the world.
Yes.
There's always that kind of stuff on there.
Absolutely.
So that's a good thing. But side-by-sides are something that they're a fun toy. They're a great work machine. You can do a lot of things with them. They've the implements that you can buy.
Oh,
specifically made for that stuff.
Oh my God, the accessories.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just for days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the track systems you can put on.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Snow blades, this and this, that, and the other thing. I saw one they had a 3-point blade that bolted into the receiver hitch in the back, so you could drag, whatever, which I don't know how you see what you're doing because especially if you don't have rear view mirrors.
I don't know, but they make it.
They make it. Though.
They make it.
Pretty impressive.
Focus on that.
All I've ever wanted to do is I wanted to buy one to where I could get a winch on the front and the winch on the back. For no real reason.
Other than to have two winches?
To have 2 winches because I'm that cool.
You know what you could do? You could grab a tree on each end.
Yeah.
And then just zip yourself up.
Yeah.
And you could sit. You just levitate. More than likely, you would flip upside down, and that would be a problem.
Probably a problem. Yeah.
Or you would spin around, at which point would be like an internet sensation.
Yeah, you get a lot of hits on your YouTube channel, something like that, for sure.
You would be quite sick.
Yeah.
And possibly injured.
Or dead.
But really popular.
Yeah. People would be like, before the YouTube, you get on the...
You're not going to be dead because you're wearing your seatbelt in a protective structure.
Right.
Yeah. So you'll be fine, other than covered in puke because you'll get sick when you're spinning.
I feel like a lot of these, especially not the go fast kinds, but just like your typical... Utility ones. I feel like that most people weld the seatbelt connector into the seatbelt connector and not actually wear it very often, like they should.
Or there are certain brands that derate if no seatbelt, and those brands are often found with the seatbelt constantly connected.
Yep. I got in one time when I was just moving it across the yard to put it someplace else. I was like, what is wrong with this?
Oh, yeah.
It's like going for I'm like, I almost went and got the shop guy. I was like, what is wrong with this thing? And he's like, got to put the seatbelt on. I was like, oh, I'm the smartest guy in the room. Look at me.
There you go.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so they're a fun toy. I enjoy it.
But they are incredibly useful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, I know... And not just the irrigating thing. I mean, they're expensive as hell, but it keeps that irrigating, especially if you're driving down pivot roads to the center point, like a lot of places in the world are that way. And you're driving over that beat to shit road, by the time it gets to August, and your pumpkin gear on the pickup's dragging and shit, but you got to check them. It saves a lot of that beat to death. And then the ranches, obviously the beat to death it saves there is a lot easier to see.
Right.
The fencing and beating through pastures and all that. Now, as everybody who owns one knows, the damn things are a long ways from invincible.
Right.
I don't care what brand it is. There's a lot of maintenance involved in them things. Yeah. But they're incredibly handy. My completely irrelevant operation, I use one every single day to do chores by myself. I don't have to open and close a gate because I have one of those. Because I got those arched pass-throughs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I haul 16 buckets in that thing every day over 2 pass-throughs, and there you go. Yeah. One man band.
Yeah. So quite the rig, and I love them especially from someone that doesn't farm a ranch or anything like that. I enjoy the hell out of them. So good times.
Absolutely.
Good times. All right, Aaron. If I am listening to this podcast and I'm like holding on the table with pure anticipation,
complete,
what would be the Aaron Fintel deal of the week?
Woo! Well, since we're on gators and since we're talking about the fancy cabbed ones. Let's ponder on this rig we have available. 2019 John Deere 835M full cab heat AC, 4-wheel drive obviously, full all-terrain package. This little rig has the fender guards all the way around. It has the grill guard. It has the rear guard. It has everything possible on it. It has 6,200 hours. And it can be yours for $17,000.
$17,000. Get out of here.
And we just told you 45 times on this podcast what a new one costs.
Right.
So that's some savings.
So is this one John Deere green, camo?
It is John Deere green with the John Deere yellow machined aluminum wheels and the Bighorn mud tires.
Outstanding.
It is sexy as the day is long.
So now that I've anticipatedly waited to get that deal,
Yes.
Now I'm like fumbling around with my phone.
Oh my God! How do you get that deal?
How do I get that deal from Aaron Fiddle?
How do we go about that?
How do we do that?
The best way to contact me, call or text 308-760-1193. Available just about any time of day on that. And very active on the Twitterverse at Aaron Ron Fintel is my username. Catch me on that anytime.
Right on. Right on. Did you ever have a three-wheeler growing up?
I did.
Did you?
I did.
I had one too.
We had the last year of the yellow Yamahas.
Oh, okay.
A 200 shaft electric start.
Nice.
That, and we got that like when a lot of the neighbors and stuff had like 110s, 185s. Yeah. Kind of like before you saw a bunch of big reds around.
Yeah.
So that 200 Yammer was badass, man.
So when I was growing up, we had, I don't know how my dad found these, but they were like early 80s. This was talking like, when was that? That would have been late 80s, early 90s, you know. And we lived in town, and back behind the town there was like a it wasn't really an alley, but it was like overgrown thing. There's a creek that kind of runs through it, you know. And somehow my dad found these three-wheelers, and he got two of them so he could make one work. I do remember that. And then he did
commonplace.
He did find another one, but they were Hondas, and I want to say they were like 185s, maybe like a 185 or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it had the big balloon tires on it. You know, it wasn't the short low pros on the back with the taller tire in the front. It wasn't that. It was the big fat, all the way around.
Right.
And so it was. They were 4-speed, but they weren't electric start. You had to pull.
Right.
Pull start. Yeah. So one day, what we do is we go out the front, go around the street to the back, and then ride this alley back and forth. You know. And one day I was zipping through there, and I got going too fast, and I went to push on the foot brake to stop, so I could slide around the corner, and my foot slipped off the brake.
And you drove over your foot?
Well, no. I was dragging on the ground, and I didn't fall off, but I kept going straight, and I careened into the creek. Okay. So this was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a summer day, and the last place I wanted my dad to find a three-wheeler was in the creek, right?
Right.
No one's home, and I'm sure as hell not going to ask anybody for help, so I got to figure this thing out. So luckily, this creek wasn't very deep. At the deepest spot, it was like 2.5, 3 feet deep, maybe, And so I was driving this three-wheeler up and down this creek channel long ways. And I finally found a place, because it was all overgrown. So I was like, I just got to pick a place and go. I got to make this work. So I just picked this hill and started climbing up it, and I finally did it. So then I came back in, figured out this new path. So I got this track thing. Came back, and my dad got home. He's like, what have you been doing today? I was like, show you what I did today, Dad. I made a new path for the three-wheeler. I showed him where I, by accident, I didn't tell him that I was wrecked, basically, into the creek.
Right.
But I did that, and I climbed up this thing, knowing he didn't read this whole deal. So one thing we could find, though, was that in that creek, we could ride the three-wheeler in that creek clear across town.
Oh, in the bottom?
In the bottom of the creek.
Oh, badass.
And the creek was, it was typical. It wasn't very wide. It was like 4 or 5 feet wide, 6 feet wide. And you could start down at our house, you could drive it all the way to the other end of town in this creek, and the police could never find you. So, which was the other fun part of this.
Oh, goodness.
Growing up as a kid, one of my favorite pastimes was trying to evade the police officers as much as possible for the shenanigans that I was pulling on a pretty regular basis in my small little town. So
see, being an only child living in the country, I miss out on all that shit, dude.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that you actually really. I mean, you missed out on mischief and
yeah, exactly.
Not necessarily the other stuff that came along with it.
I did, however, catch up in later years, so we got that out of the way.
It all worked out there.
There you go. You know what I love? I'll never forget this. We had that 200 Yamaha, and my uncle and a couple of his buddies were super big into like the 350X Hondas, those red, white, and blue racers.
Right.
So he got one, and we were out rounding out cows one day, right? Or rounding up cows one day. And we're up at the north pasture, getting them rounded up. And, Dad's on the three-wheeler, just on the regular one, get them all rounded up. And there was a couple of them that bolted or something. So I ran to that yellow one and jump on it. And my uncle's over there on that 350X. And he's like, oh, this will round them up super fast, He's over there kick-starting some bitch. Couldn't get it started. And my dad he just loved the shit out of that. Like, oh, what's wrong with your big fancy three-wheeler? being as he is. So yeah. That was pretty funny. In later years, I did get I've actually had a couple of them, and I didn't know they existed back in the day. They were made like 85, 86. But a Honda 250 SX. That looks like your 185 and a 350X had a baby. Because it's still utility. Right. Like, it still has racks and stuff. And it has a metal tank, not a plastic tank. But it's real, and it's shaft, but it has, like, X suspension.
Wow. Nice.
They were super, super badass.
Yeah.
And I found one, absolutely got a steal on it online. Got it home, freshened it up, drove it twice, parked it, freshened it up, drove it, parked it, sold it. After having a four-wheeler for so many years, driving a three-wheeler sucks.
Yeah. It does suck.
Like, you got to pay attention.
Yeah, there's no...
On a four-wheeler, you just drive it. But on a three-wheeler, you got to pay attention.
Yeah.
It's sad, because when I was, like, the last flag flyer of three-wheelers, they're so much better than four-wheelers. You can go more places. You can turn better, and blah, blah, blah. And then pause for about 10 years, don't have either, and then get both and never drive a three-wheeler.
Yeah, three-wheelers it's definitely a different feel.
It is.
That's what it is.
It is. But they're so cool, like that 200 Yamaha we had.
Yeah.
A above average size human, as we both are. You set the front wheel on there, you lift the ass end up, shut the tailgate, take it wherever.
Yeah.
You don't need ramps and then jack around with all that. That's what I do miss about them. Mm-hmm. But that's about it.
Yep.
And they're cool looking.
And
everybody made racers.
Oh, yeah.
You had the Kawasaki, the Yamaha Tri-Z, I think.
Suzuki.
Yeah, what was it? One of them had was it the Tecate, or was that Kawasaki? I think Kawasaki was the Tecate. Was that Suzuki?
I'm pretty sure
okay.
It was, yeah.
They all had cool names, though. Yeah. Like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Like mysterious and
like
dangerous.
Ninja names.
Yeah.
So,
like, yes, this is a seat, an engine, and foot pegs. And yes, it will go 80.
Yeah. Yep. Well, nothing beats a good throwback story like a three-wheeler.
There you go.
I haven't thought about a three-wheeler for the past 30 years until right now. So
you know what else? Never wrecked a three-wheeler. Never have wrecked a three-wheeler.
You didn't try very hard then.
I've wrecked four-wheeler a lot. I used to drive a three-wheeler down a gravel road. That Yamaha was a 5-speed.
Yeah.
I used to drive that thing full bore, 5th gear, and slide from ditch to ditch and make the prettiest design for a mile and then get my ass chewed. But it looked, because you just like slalom for like a mile, just full bore, hammer down.
Yeah.
Could have died at any point, but sure was fun.
I broke the fall of my three-wheeler more than one time.
Yeah. I've done that, but not like a wreck track.
Yeah. I've never like ran into a tree or anything, but I've rolled it off the side of a hill.
I should rephrase that. I've never had a wreck because it only has 3 wheels.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah.
Other than the on top of you thing.
I've done that several times, so.
Yeah.
Good times. All right, Aaron. Folks want to reach out to you, get more information about the deal of the day, or just some of the other fancy deals you got thrown out there on the Tweeterverse. What's the best way to do it?
Or just in general.
Just in general, yeah.
My cell phone, which is with me almost all the time, 308-760-1193. Call me or text me on that anytime. Or I'm very active on the Twitterverse at AARonFintel.
And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at MovingIronLLC.com. You can also go to the Moving Iron website at MovingIronLLC.com. You can find me there, and you can find all the information about what's going on in the world of the Moving Iron podcast, the Moving Iron blog, and also the Moving Iron Summit coming up September 15th through the 17th in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a good time to get together, network with some folks, and there's a great line of speakers that are going to have a lot of great information to talk about on just about anything that has to do with the equipment marketplace or just what's going to be happening with weather, where the direction of the industry is headed. So if you're a dealer, whether you're Deere, Case, New Holland, whomever you might be, and you have interest in coming to that, make sure you hit me up at Moving Iron Podcast at MovingIronPodcast.com. Or you can go to the website and you can sign up there as well. Go right to the Moving Iron Summit tab at the top on the toolbar there. Drop down and grab that information, and it'll have all the places to sign up for the event and get hotel rooms and everything else. So, Aaron, you've been to that a lot. What's your thoughts on that?
It is the absolute best event to attend if you're in the used equipment business.
Right on. So, couldn't say it better myself. So, with that, one more thing. Make sure you check out Dryline Farmer Podcast, Brent and Landon. Those guys are they make you laugh.
Top notch.
It's a podcast about nothing. It's the Seinfeld of podcasts. So check that out, and you will have been entertained for some while. So you can find them on the Global Ag Network and anywhere else that you can find a podcast, just like the Moving Iron Podcast. So with that, I am Casey Seymour with Aaron Finnell. Let's go with smart, folks. Out.
Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline Kromowski with the Herd Book Ag Media, giving you your weekly Moving Iron Ag News updates. News out of Washington this week. The Biden administration is looking to funnel Department of Agriculture Commodity Credit Corps funds away from farmers. This fund is normally reserved as aid for farmers in times of trade war, which was heavily used during the Trump administration, as well as during other market and financial difficulties. The administration has proposed using this money for other issues such as tackling climate change, supporting restaurants post-pandemic, and other Kickstart programs, and they may be able to do this without waiting for Congress's approval. An army of small farmers marched on New Delhi this week in protest of changes to agricultural policy they believe would have a devastating impact on their livelihoods. Protesters believe the laws recently passed by the Indian Parliament would end guaranteed pricing, thus forcing them to do business with larger ag corporations instead of their preferred government-run markets. Overall, their concern is this movement favors the larger operations as opposed to the majority of small producers. And keep in mind, the majority of those reside on less than 3 acres of land on average. However, supporters of the policy say such changes are necessary to advance Indian farming into the modern world. All right, moving back a little closer to home. This year, more cancellations are on the horizon for major U.S. ag conferences and other events. The National Farm Machinery Show, typically held in Louisville, Kentucky, was recently canceled for this year and postponed into 2022. Likewise, the American Farm Bureau Federation Young Farmers and Ranchers Fusion Conference was recently moved to a virtual platform to be held in March. Some major events that are coming up, such as the World Dairy Expo held later this year, are still holding out hope that they will be able to host their live and in-person events, but time will tell. Aquaculture seems like it's on track to become the next big thing in the animal protein market. Griggs Seafood just became the first global salmon producer to invest in land-based salmon farming. They are on track to start constructing their facility later this year, which is said to be capable of producing 5,000 tons annually, with significant plans for future expansion. In a similar move, last year Pure Salmon announced it was investing $228 million more into its Virginia production facility. This would make it one of the largest equity investments in the region. This project will result in the world's largest vertically integrated aquaculture facility, capable of producing 20,000 tons of salmon per year. It's no secret that our agriculture and farming population specifically continues to age, but have we considered the industry's impact on those golden years? A new University of Iowa study showed that farm workers were more likely to have dementia, as high as 46% more compared to the average. It's difficult to show the role of pesticide exposure as contributing to this area, but more research may be forthcoming. On a lighter note, the Wall Street Journal reported that soaring grain prices, namely corn, soybeans, and wheat, could put the American farmer on a faster road to recovery post-pandemic. No surprise, a large portion of this is due to China demanding more from our exports, but also the fact that with so much being backlogged throughout the supply chain during last year, America happened to have a sizable crop glut ready to be sold and shipped off. While that is certainly good news in terms of our U.S. exports here, globally there may be some issues when it comes to Russia. Russia has recently declared that as of March 1, they will be increasing their wheat export tax. They say this is to curb a demand for domestic food prices due to, again, COVID. Russia is one of the world's largest wheat exporters, and the rest of the world could be wary as this could lead to sky-high prices in the international market. All right, that should catch you up for this first week of February, brought to you by the Herd Book Ag Media, serving all your agribusiness writing, communication, and media needs. Find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or our company website, the-herdbook.com.
You want to have a meaningful competitive advantage to help sell more equipment. Whether you represent the sales, parts, or management department of an implement dealership, there's a surprising amount of complexity when it comes to tire, wheel, and track technology. Let Axon worry about that so you can get back to supporting your customers. Axon has leveraged years of experience to create a streamlined process that gives you a proven path to help today's grower and sell more equipment. The roots of their organization go back almost 100 years to the invention of the rubber tractor tire. Supporting agriculture is the number one driver of Axon, from product development through sales and service. To find more or become an Axon dealer, head over to agmarkets.com.
Moving higher in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving higher.